Hello and welcome to Starting Points, where one thing leads to another. Today, I said I would share some novels for older readers. This is the map of Australia, and down here is Tasmania, separate island, much more vegetation on it, and the scene or setting for the first three novels. And the fifth and last novel involves a walk to the city of Perth, which was the place that the first Europeans saw that there existed black swans. So, Nan Chauncey wrote about 10 novels for young people. All were published by Oxford University Press, and they're pretty selective in who they publish. This first book I got a long time ago, and I really liked it. It had some description there about the education that I found interesting, because there were those who valued nature and having nature time for in the school day for becoming more aware of the natural world. And the story is really about personalities and relationships. In fact, all her books were. So I really enjoyed this book. And then later, I discovered in one used bookstore, Tiger in the Bush, and the next book that I'm going to show you. This book won the Australian Book Council's Children's Book of the Year prize in 1958. And so that dates about when it was written, and it gives a description of a family that's chosen to live sort of outside the common norm. Rather than being in a city, they've found a site where they just the natural beauty of it and the wildlife. They just thought that's where they wanted to bring up their three children, and so they have a cow, and they have the dad has a brother who from time to time will come with certain supplies that they can't get in their environment, and it's just the interpersonal relationships, listening to young people's ideas in terms of problem solving. It's very uplifting. It's an uplifting book. That's what I should say. I'll read you a little passage to give you an idea of the other aspect that's so nice about it, and that is the nature. Then there was a round hole he noticed high in a gum tree, so there's about trees, smooth and polished, because a green mountain parrot clung there to feed the young inside. Of course, he had to keep his eye on this, and this is the boy Badger. His older brother and sister are not always there. They're older and studying, boarding out to study. And in another hole, a big one, inside a hollow tree, he disturbed a ring-tailed possum who ran out and blinked at him from a branch with a tiny joy clinging to her back. Near the veranda was the home of his family of pet lizards, which he fed daily with old Browa's warm milk in a tin lid. Well, when I read that about the possum, it reminded me that in North America, the only marsupial is the possum, or the opossum, as it's sometimes referred to. Now, this book has a title called Tiger in the Bush, and the tiger refers to an animal called the Tasmanian tiger, or sometimes called the Tasmanian wolf. And I want to talk about that in the next video, so I won't say more about it now. It's just, as I say, uplifting book, and she wrote a sequel to it. And it, too, won that Australian Book Council's Children's Book of the Year award the following year. And I want to read you a little something from it. Now, it's a little larger cast in that it involves the cousins, 3 cousins that come to stay with them, and they're going off on an expedition, and the 3 cousins join them. This is just the bridge that they've got to get to their place. It's really two ropes, and your feet slide across on this one as your hands move across up above. And one of the smallest of the cousins, who takes a fancy to the whole place and the various animals and things, she has her feet on this, but hands holding the pockets of her brother and Badge. They had not found Brindle's track at first, only the fearsome obstacle of a forest of horizontal. That's a whole new treescape for me. Horizontal is wicked stuff to bushmen. It grows like a simple sapling to a certain height, then bends over and lies horizontal with the ground, sending up a row of other stems from this one trunk. In time, these also bend over and do the same thing, till in some Tasmanian forests you can walk 40 feet above ground on a network of stems. Now, this book was almost like 2 cultures. The cousins coming from an urban culture, and Badge and his mom and dad from this much more isolated way of living. Walking 40 feet above, well, the last 2 books involve a lot of walking. It seems to be the general mode in all the books, actually, to get from point A to point B. This book's called Walkabout. It's by James Marshall. And in the Australian Aboriginal culture, when a young lad reaches a certain age, he goes on a walkabout. He has to have the common sense and the skills to survive on his own on this long walk, where he stops in at certain special spots before returning. And on his walkabout, he meets a boy and a girl, white boy and girl. And so it's about 2 cultures and understanding another, coming to understand another culture. And in this case, they don't share a common language. And so it's gestures and expressions and things like that that communicate to each other, which can sometimes be misunderstood. The last book is by G.M. Glaskin, and it tells a story of, a young boy and his sister, whose mother, in this case, has died, and they had promised her that they would go and search out her relatives. They're going to go to Perth, 140 miles away. They don't have a clue how they're going to do that, though. And fortunately, Frank, who's a friend of in the small hamlet where they live, and they know him well, and he understands their plight, and he's walked to Perth before on a number of occasions, and he says, well, I'll help you get there. So off they set. And what an expedition that is, though, of course, he knows people along the way, and all kinds of incidents happen, and it's a fascinating book. And so there's the offerings for this time. Hope to see you next time when we'll have a look at that Tasmanian wolf or Tasmanian tiger. Well, bye for now.